Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're watching PNT. I'm your host, Captain Discontent. Up front this week, according to an article published by LiveScience.com, scientists in Arizona have discovered what could very well be the start of a grade B sci-fi come to life. Herpetologist Aaron McGee of the University of Arizona was investigating a pond that had been drained of water when a volunteer discovered what looked to be like some sort of an odd fish. Startled by the slimy surprise, the volunteer handed the creature over to Dr. McGee, who identified it as an enormous American bullfrog tadpole. Like all frogs, bullfrogs procreate through external reproduction. In case you weren't listening in science class, the basics are the same, just on the outside. The resultant tadpoles, provided they survive the perils of hungry fish and playful children, begin to grow legs and absorb their tail, finally completing their transformations into full-fledged frogs. Goliath, as Dr. McGee has nicknamed the find, most likely suffers from a hormonal imbalance, causing his immense size. Bad classic movie tropes aside, McGee states there is little chance of Goliath ever maturing into an adult frog, with his increased size causing increased strain on his systems. University researchers have relocated Goliath to their laboratory, where they are allowing nature to take its course as they attempt to determine the cause behind the pollywog's preponderous proportions, which doesn't sound at all like the plot of Night of the Lepus. From terrifying tadpoles to Martian moisture, our next story takes us to our next planetary neighbor, where a recent find could prove once and for all whether we are alone in the universe. Scientists from the National Institute of Astrophysics in Italy recently announced the results of a 4-year study conducted using data from the Marsis equipment on board the ESA Mars Express, first launched in 2003. Marsis, short for Mars Advanced Radar for Subsurface and Ionosphere Sounding, uses low-frequency radar that can penetrate beneath the surface of the red planet. As the radar pulses reflect back to Marsis, the instrumentation can then analyze the data to determine what material they hit. Carefully studying the collected data, the NIA scientists were excited to find strong evidence of a large underground pool of liquid water. According to the data, the lake is more than 12 miles across and is buried nearly a mile below the southern ice cap. While the team was unable to determine the exact depth of the lake, they stated it is at least 3 feet deep, just enough for the shallow end of a pool. While other astrophysicists worldwide are more cautious about the findings, even they have to admit the NIA team makes a very strong case for the lake's existence. While the scientific community is abuzz with the possibilities presented by water on Mars, they caution against girding for alien invasion just yet, stating, "Life means water, but water does not necessarily mean life." For PNT's part, while we find the possibilities presented by life on our nearest planetary neighbor tantalizing, we can't help wondering if perhaps now would be a good time to get your ass to Mars. For the final part of our weekly roundup of the weird, PNT is pleased to bring you another fascinating report drawn from the MUFON database. Occurring in early July, the footage appears to show a large cigar-shaped object rotating and hovering in place over Oxfordshire, Great Britain. Let's have a look at the footage.
is it? I got you.
Still there, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Where is it? I don't want it up to abduct our cows.
I don't think it's going to abduct any cow. It's bizarre, I can't see it in a camera.
I can't see it anyway.
Oh, there it is.
No, I can't see it.
Gotcha. Look at that. Go away, fly. Bastard. Right, go get rid of that fly for me, mate.
Oh, I see it now. Whoa.
You see it?
Yeah, it's black.
It's just staying there in one place. Been there for ages.
I wonder what it's doing.
Is that UFO putting duck for Eagleton when he woke up?
Yeah, it's Putin, mate. It's the Russians. That's a superb UFO.
How is it tube shaped?
Cigar shaped.
How?
Wow. It might be just a saucer sit on its side.
Yeah, but they normally have a round bit in the top. So you would have seen it.
No, I'm really sorry I can't hold this still, but
Are you scared it might abduct us?
no. I ain't got time to set up the tripod.
What's a tripod?
So what was this object captured on tape hovering over Oxfordshire, Great Britain? Aside from the surprising quality of the video footage, the witness himself is well qualified to comment on what he saw. As a commercial pilot, we can give his testimony more credibility than your average observers. Let's run down the usual possibilities. Clearly, it's not a bird, not a drone, not a cloud, and not a commercial airliner. As the witness himself states, due to the altitude, prevailing winds, and cloud action, a balloon seems unlikely. The rotating movements of the object and lack of undulation also speak to this being a solid object instead of a tethered balloon, as does our analysis of the footage. The nearest match PNT could find among known military craft and dirigibles was the Ascender high-altitude platform vehicles developed by JP Aerospace. But even here, this is not a complete match, as the Ascender platforms rely on multiple arms in order to achieve flight stability. Therefore, even if this craft were of the Ascender type that had somehow become undone or damaged, it would have been unable to hold its position for long, much less be able to perform the maneuver seen here and in a strikingly similar case in New Hampshire we covered last year. So, what does this leave us? Could this be a military test craft, as intimated by the witness in his statement? It would explain the lack of air traffic over a heavily used corridor. But this itself does seem to be atypical for the usual test procedures for military craft under development. If this is a secret project, why test it over a major population center in the middle of commercial air traffic? A curious question, but no less curious than the final answers that logic leads us to. The possibility of this being an extraterrestrial, or perhaps even an interdimensional craft. Is it possible that what we're seeing here is a reconnaissance probe from an advanced extraterrestrial civilization? Or could it be a more tantalizing possibility, that we, ourselves, are observing our progress from some nearby reality, or perhaps even some distant point in the future, hoping to learn more about ourselves? For PNT's part, we must admit that we are baffled as to the origin of the object seen here, and truly have to classify this as an unidentified flying object. But whether the object caught on tape hovering over the English countryside was an advanced balloon gone awry, a project revealed by an inept military, or something else entirely, we'll leave up to you to decide. Sound off in the comment section below with your thoughts. That's it for this time, faithful viewers. Be sure to click like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified when PNT presents your next portion of the paranormal. I'm your host, reminding you to keep an open mind, because a closed one shuts out the truth.